Teachers, train drivers, pharmacists and hospital staff, all among the millions of workers here in France expected to strike today as part of a day of protests against looming budget cuts. Unions calling for more spending on public services.
Brothers and sisters of the African continent, friends from across the globe, welcome once again to Voice of Africa, the channel where stories shaping our world are told with depth, balance, and clarity. Just 2 days ago, we brought you a major report on the unfolding protests in France, where unions and citizens gave President Emmanuel Macron and his new government a strong warning about austerity measures. Today, we return with the continuation of that story. Because the streets of France are still filled with demonstrations, the anger has not cooled, and the government is under even greater pressure to respond. Before we continue, kindly take a moment to like this video so YouTube recommends it to more viewers. Your support helps spread awareness and ensures that stories like these reach Africans and friends across the world.
France came to a standstill on Thursday as anger over the government's austerity plan spilled into the streets. Hundreds of thousands joined marches across the country, bringing metros, schools, and pharmacies to a halt.
The protests of September 18, 2025, marked one of the largest national strikes in years. More than 1 million people, according to unions, joined marches across the country, while government sources placed the figure at about 500,000. Whatever the number, the outcome was undeniable. France was brought to a halt. Transport systems, schools, hospitals, and pharmacies were disrupted, creating a clear message that the public is ready to resist the proposed austerity plan. Now, just days later, the situation remains tense. Union leaders are not backing down. They have declared that the strike of September 18th was only the beginning, and more waves of mobilization are already being planned. France's largest labor organizations, including the CGT and the CFDT, have vowed to keep up the pressure until the government abandons what they call unjust and socially destructive policies. This is no longer just a single protest day. It is evolving into a prolonged standoff between the French state and its people. Please remember to like this video so more people can follow this developing story. The heart of the dispute remains the government's austerity measures. The proposals involve billions in spending cuts, pension reforms, and an earlier plan to eliminate 2 public holidays.
And far-right leaders Marine Le Pen and Jordan Bardella have turned up the heat on President Macron and his new Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu.
Facing huge backlash, Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu has already backtracked on the holiday cuts, but unions insist this concession is far from enough. They argue that reducing social protections in the middle of rising living costs will only deepen inequality. Instead, they demand that the government tax corporations and wealthy elites more fairly so that the burden of balancing the budget does not fall on working families. Across France, the protests are not only large, but also widespread. In Paris, tens of thousands continue to gather in the streets, with the Place de la République and surrounding areas serving as central rally points. Demonstrators wave banners with messages demanding justice, equity, and protection of social rights. In Marseille, Lyon, Toulouse, and Lille, equally large crowds have gathered, proving this is not just a Parisian issue but a nationwide revolt. The continuation of these actions has also seen more tension with security forces. In Paris, tear gas was used once again to disperse groups attempting to push through police lines. Arrest numbers have risen, with reports of nearly 300 detentions since the beginning of the unrest. For many French citizens, this heavy police presence and the images of tear gas-filled streets bring back memories of the Yellow Vest movement that rocked the country several years ago. Once again, if you are following this report, please like this video so YouTube can show it to more people. Your support ensures that our reporting continues to reach wider audiences. Politically, this is a defining moment for Prime Minister Lecornu, who was only recently appointed after the collapse of François Bayrout's government. His handling of the crisis will be closely watched, not only by French citizens, but also by European partners. President Emmanuel Macron, too, faces mounting pressure. With just 2 years left in his final term, his administration must find a way to push through reforms without further inflaming public anger. The protests of this week show how fragile that balance has become. The government has attempted to ease tensions.
France is in the midst of a prolonged political crisis. The new government in France, and of course there are old challenges which persist. Macron and his Prime Minister are caught up in a political quagmire. The opposition National Rally is demanding dissolution of the parliament.
Lecornu announced that he would open dialogue with trade unions and opposition parties, yet many French citizens remain skeptical. They argue that dialogue has been promised in the past, but has rarely produced real results. The unions, meanwhile, say they will not compromise unless the austerity package is completely withdrawn. This hardline stance means France could be heading toward more days of strikes, further paralyzing the economy. From an economic standpoint, the stakes are high. France is under pressure to reduce its deficit and keep its finances in line with European Union requirements. However, the public backlash shows that austerity is politically toxic, especially when citizens feel it unfairly targets them while sparing the wealthiest. If the strikes continue, they could cost billions in lost productivity and revenue, a paradox for a government seeking to cut spending. Viewers, kindly remember to like this video so it reaches more people across Africa and the world. The French protests also carry lessons for the global community. They highlight the power of civic mobilization, the enduring influence of trade unions, and the importance of government accountability in times of economic stress. For France, a country proud of its history of revolution and people's movements, this moment adds another chapter to its tradition of protest as a tool for political change. Reports also show that many young people are participating in the demonstrations, particularly students who feel their future is being put at risk by cuts to education funding and reduced job security. Their involvement suggests that this movement is not just about today's workers, but also about the next generation of French citizens demanding a fairer future. Internationally, France's crisis is being closely observed. Other European nations have faced similar tensions between fiscal responsibility and public welfare. The outcome in France could set an example, showing either the strength of public resistance to austerity or the government's ability to enforce unpopular policies. 2 days after the massive strike, the momentum is still alive. Union leaders are already announcing the possibility of another national strike if the government does not act. This means the crisis is far from over. In fact, it may only be beginning. And that is why we bring you this continuation of our coverage. What started as a single-day action has now transformed into a broader struggle between citizens and their leaders. The streets of France remain restless, the government remains under pressure, and the outcome is still uncertain. Once again, if you have found this report informative, please like this video so it can be recommended to more viewers. It takes only a second, but it helps us grow and ensures that Africans and friends worldwide stay updated on these major global events. This is Voice of Africa, bringing you balanced, detailed, and timely reports. Stay tuned with us as we continue to follow developments in France and other parts of the world. The coming days will reveal whether dialogue, compromise, or confrontation defines the next chapter of France's political crisis. Until then, we will keep bringing you the updates that matter most.